All right, Coach, I know it was a little bit of a rough start, but I mean, pretty dominant after that. What'd you like about tonight?
Well, I like the fact that we showed a lot of perseverance, and I felt we were doing a lot of good things, even though we fell down 9-2. I still felt like we were doing some positive things. The passing was there, the setting was there. We just weren't completing the hits, so it wasn't like it wasn't nervous time. It was just call a timeout, get them back into a deep breath and back into a focus, and let them know you're doing the correct things. Just keep going. It'll start to bounce our way. And then we got into a good service run with Ashlyn baiting, and then we started connecting on some kills. As soon as we stayed away from the big girl, I apologize, I don't remember,
Tarts.
As soon as we started making sure that they recognized where she was, then we started to have a little more connection, and we did a better job of moving the ball back and forth. We kept going back to the same hitter, which is something that we've talked we can't do. And once we started to do that and distribute it more, the game became a little bit more fluid for them. So I think that was the only difference, is that we were doing things right. We just weren't completing, and once we started to complete, everything kind of fell into place for us in that game one.
Dominant set two. How much of a statement was that of like, hey, let's not do what we did in the first set?
Well, for those that know who we are, game two has been our bugaboo. We Lewis Central, Glenwood, a lot of teams in our conference, when we've had to go more than 3 games. Game two has always been that game where we come out strong in game one. Game two, we lose, and it's because we're making too many hitting errors, serving errors. Nothing works, and if it's going to go downhill, it goes downhill. So their goal was to make sure that game two was something was going to be different than it has in the past. And the only way that was going to be different is that they remember what they did to get that win in game one, and they just continue to flow. And then if something bad happened, shake it off, take a deep breath, and you'll be fine. And I think for their mentality, game two was the biggest game for them tonight. Game one and game three, there was confidence, but game two built that confidence for them because they got the ghost out of them, because that's been their bad set throughout the season.
Offensively, I know Sophie led the way, but I mean, different girls stepped up at different times tonight. What stood out to you about what you guys were doing on the offensive end?
Well, what stands up is that if one girl has a hit that doesn't work, Ashlyn and Macy are able to find the other hitters. The biggest difference for this team and some other teams, I feel like, during our season is that we have 6 hitters. And when you have 6 hitters and you can distribute it evenly, I think for the blockers on the opposing side, it's hard for them to recognize who do we try and take away. Because if you take away our right side hitter, now you've got our outside hitter. If you take away Sophie, which Underwood did the other night, took Sophie and Franny away our middles, and we just went to our pins. And then once our pins got connected, they started taking those, and then we went right back to Sophie and Franny in the middle. So the nice part about this group, and the setters know this, is that if we have a bad night, one player has a struggling setter, a game, or 5 points, whatever, we have other ones to go to. So they know that, the girls know that, so they trust everybody, and the setters do a nice job of recognizing that. We're trying to make sure we don't always go back to somebody more than twice, so that makes their defense have to scramble, which for us, that's our hat that we have to hang on. It's just keep coming at them with all 6 hitters, because eventually they'll wear down.
So Missouri Valley to go to state on Wednesday night. And they've had a season in a lot of ways, I think, that kind of mirrors your guys. Has played some really good teams, has beat some of them, has lost to a few of them as well. What do you know about them as you guys get ready for this matchup?
I'll be honest with you, I only know a few little things about them. They have a strong front line. Their setter is very consistent where she wants to put it. They are a little bit better at serve receive. We caused some problems tonight with their serve receive. But they're also very active at the net, so we have to make sure that we're just as active and getting lots of touches. They have more of a hitting presence across the line than similar to what Lewis Central brings, or Glenwood, some of the teams we've already faced. So about all I know is that they're more consistent as far as efficiency of hitting across the line, and the center does a nice job of getting into where they need to do. And other than that, I even though Treynor, I think, beat them 3 times this year, I think none of those games were easy. So those games could have gone either way. So we just have to prepare like we're playing against, Treynor, except they don't have a 6'5" kid. And so that kind of matchup, I think, plays into our favor a little bit. But we have to play it like, we had that goal. Our purpose is every point has to have a purpose. And so sometimes you can scout too much. You can watch too much videos. We've decided, let's just worry about us. If we saw what we can do, we've seen enough volleyball, we'll make adjustments as the game goes, but we'll still watch. I give the girls some videotape. We'll watch enough of them, but when we come to practice tomorrow, it's going to be about what can we do against them, because here's what they'll try and do, and that's really just more worry about we. I mean, Missouri Valley is going to be, they were projected to win it, and so we're kind of the underdogs coming in. And I think that mindset is good for our girls, is to have that underdog mindset of that it's us kind of against everybody, that old motto, us against the world. And if they hang their hat on that, they're going to be tough to beat.